Chapter 16 of the textbook deals with small group communication, or as I say, team communication. The chapter is divided into four sections. The first is the significance of small group communication. The second segment deals with small group responsibilities. The third section deals with guidelines for problem solving, and then the fourth section deals with presenting in small groups. All right, let's start off. If you think about the small group has been part of our society from the very beginning of time, really. Every civilization has had a small group of some sort, one sort or another. And the most primary and basic small group is what we all belong to via birth, and that is our family. We are placed into other groups depending on interests, depending on our vocation. We may be placed into work or task groups in a classroom setting, or maybe on the sport, in a particular sport. Sometimes we take part in some activity not because of a conscious effort to belong to a group, but because of our interest. We enjoy that. So the purpose of a primary group is to fulfill the basic need to associate with others. Of course, as I said, family and friends. And that the main task really of a small group is to perpetuate that group so that members can continue to enjoy each other's presence and the purpose of the group. The purpose of a secondary group, on the other hand, is to accomplish tasks or to achieve goals. Notice the difference between primary groups and secondary groups. Each person in a secondary group brings to the group culture and context his or her own predispositions, attitudes, work ethic, personality, knowledge, abilities, skills. They do the same thing with the primary group, but the focus on the primary group is to perpetuate that group, essentially. Whereas for a secondary group is to accomplish a task or achieve a goal. So what are some small group characteristics? First is interaction. And that is, people have to interact or communicate with each other in a small group to achieve their purpose. Second is structure. You must have some sense of who's in charge, who's leading. Every group member contributes to the structure in some way, whether as a leader or as a follower, either in terms of being on task roles or maintenance roles. So structure relates to how members are organized into those roles. And the roles may be classified into three broad categories. The first is task roles. And this is the things that we do that are directed toward completing the group's goal. So we ask for information, we give information, we ask for opinions, we give opinions, we initiate ideas, and these are all examples of task roles. The second major category is maintenance roles. And this is where we keep the group together. Very often task roles, especially if there's a significant diversity in the group, tends to push the group and fragment the group somewhat. Maintenance roles, on the other hand, are designed for the purpose of bringing cohesion and bringing the group together. So how do we do this? We do this by encouraging each other, observing, following, harmonizing. These are examples of maintenance roles, and they function to keep the group together, as I've said. The third one is maybe not so much as a function of groups, but it occurs in groups, and that is individual roles. And these individual roles tend to be somewhat negative. They include blocking somebody from speaking, aggression, domination, seeking recognition, trying to fulfill one's own ambitions and goals to the detriment of the larger group goal. In an ideal world, these individual roles would not exist, since often they are self-centered, they lead to conflict, and they can also lead to the group's fragmentation. Group cohesion, another characteristic, relates to how strongly members feel a sense of unity. And that all depends on a number of things. How much the people are alike. If you're very much alike, there's stronger cohesion, basically because you You have the same ideals, the same beliefs, attitudes, and values. But having a group that is not diverse doesn't really effectively leverage what groups are or teams are supposed to do, and that is bring a variety of opinions to the context. A cohesive group works together, handles conflict effectively, and enacts both task and maintenance roles. On the other hand, if it's too highly cohesive, it can produce some negative consequences, what we refer to as groupthink. Groupthink is the deterioration of the mental processes of a group. So what does that mean? It means that if we agree too much with each other and we trust each other implicitly and explicitly, we may not engage in the critical thinking process. We may not analyze and critique each other's ideas, and we may all get on the bandwagon, so to speak. Another small group characteristic is social identity. And so when group members share perception of belonging to the group itself. You can certainly see overt, explicit signs of group identity. And so the group has an identity. Think of teams, whether they are football teams or rugby teams or baseball teams, they all have a sense of shared identity. So also teams in the workplace have a sense of shared purpose and shared identity. Another small group characteristic is goals. Groups meet together for the purpose of fulfilling a goal, a specific task. And so group goals are for the purpose of meeting that group task itself. Individual-oriented goals, of course, relate to our self-serving needs, our individual needs and ambitions, and they may be to the detriment of the group goal. All right, we'll stop there. Next, we'll get to presenting and participating in small groups.